In the early 20th century, a boy named Kwame was born in the small village of Nkrumah in British-ruled Gold Coast, the land we now know as Ghana. Little did anyone realize that this humble child would one day become the catalyst for a wind of change that swept across the African continent. From a young age, Kwame's intelligence and thirst for knowledge set him apart. His father was determined to provide him an education, sending him to a prestigious Catholic seminary. It was there that Kwame first learned about the ideas of Marcus Garvey and W.E.B. Du Bois, thinkers whose teachings on Pan-Africanism and the struggle against colonialism and racism would shape his worldview. After earning a coveted scholarship, Kwame journeyed to the United States, where he continued his studies. Living in Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance, he immersed himself in books and lectures, meeting future African liberation icons like Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria. With each day, his understanding of the injustices inflicted by the colonial system deepened, as did his conviction to fight for the freedom of Africa. Returning home after over a decade abroad as a changed man, Kwame joined the growing independence movement in the Gold Coast in the 1940s. His oratory skills and fiery speeches denouncing British rule quickly made him a folk hero among the people. The colonial authorities viewed this young, charismatic political agitator as a dire threat and had him arrested and briefly imprisoned, only adding to his mystique. When peaceful mass protests were met with state violence, Kwame realized that more drastic action was required. In 1949, he formed the Convention People's Party, energizing the long-suppressed independence struggle through boycotts, strikes and civil disobedience. The British were forced to accept Kwame as a leader who could no longer be ignored or contained. Finally, in 1957, after years of relentless campaigning and immense sacrifices, Kwame achieved the great victory he had fought for. Ghana became the first nation in sub-Saharan Africa to break free from colonial rule. Hundreds of thousands gathered to see the man then called the Osojifo, the Redeemer, become Ghana's first Prime Minister upon independence. But Kwame had even bigger dreams for a united Africa that could overcome the artificial boundaries imposed by European colonizers. He worked tirelessly to spread the gospel of Pan-Africanism, hosting the historic talks in 1958 that gave birth to the Organization of African Unity. Though ousted from power in the 1960s, Kwame Nkrumah left behind an immortal legacy as the pathfinder and voice for liberation across Africa. For millions, he embodied the struggle against oppression and became the face of their hopes, aspirations and pride in their identity. To this day, the Osojifo remains an enduring symbol of Africans' fight for freedom on their cherished motherland.